Dumelang, Sanbonani, and welcome to Africa Tonight, the show that takes you across the continent, covering significant developments as they unfold. We bring you conversations about the stories affecting the people of Africa. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Lesego Mokwanane. Let's take a look at news-making headlines across the continent. Liberian President George Weah delivers a nationwide address on the state of the nation's economy. Libya's National Oil Corporation calls on tribes in the south of the country to help release workers abducted from an oil field, including a Romanian national. In the central Malian town of Konna, local officials struggle ahead of presidential elections. In your top story, Liberian President George Weah introduces measures to tackle rampant inflation and poverty. Weah, who was elected in December, will inject $25 million into the economy as the Liberian dollar has fallen sharply in recent months, driving prices up. In a televised address, Weah said his government is fully aware that they were elected with the expectation to solve these countries' challenges. This is a task that they are now embarked upon with strong determination, focus and commitment.
It is not for us to complain about the bleak situation we inherited, or to cast blame on previous administration. Rather, ours is a duty and a responsibility to find new and sustainable solutions to these old-age problems that have stubbornly defied solutions in the past. These measures will include, but not be limited to, an immediate infusion by the central bank, $25 million into the economy to mop up the excess liquidity of the Liberian dollar. A mandate to the central bank to provide more effective supervisions and regulation on money changers of foreign exchange bureau. A mandate to the central bank to provide more robust oversight of banks under its supervision. Conduct a comprehensive review of regulations on the holdings of both Liberian dollars and the US dollar outside the banking system, and provide incentives and safeguards to encourage the utilization of the banking system, including financial instruments.
Kidnapped at an oil field in southern Libya, with two of them later released. The abductions at the Al-Shahara field will hit output in the country, whose fragile economy relies heavily on its oil supplies. Ramadan Saleh, in charge of security in Libya's southern Ubari region, stated that armed men kidnapped 4 engineers, 3 Libyans and a Romanian. Libya's National Oil Corporation confirmed in a statement that 4 workers were kidnapped by unknown armed assailants, but said 2 have been released. The company said it was working with appropriate authorities to resolve the issue without giving further details of those abducted. Oil wells in the surrounding area have been shut down as a precaution and all other workers evacuated. The Al-Shahara field is one of the biggest in oil-rich Libya.
نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يعجل بالفرج على زميلنا أشرف مسلم، وأيضا العامل الروماني معنا سيد فالتين. الحقيقة ما حدث غير متوقع إطلاقا. سكان المحليين، أخوتنا التبو، الطوارق، شركائنا في الوطن، شركائنا ونحن دين واحد، أنهم يحكموا العقل ويطلقوا سراح 2 من عاملينا في أسرع وقت ممكن.
A herd of goats browse on grass in the stony front yard of Konna's local government offices, a town abandoned by the state and its security forces, like many others in central Mali. Sent from the regional capital, Mopti, the MINUSMA police want to ask an official about the progress of voter card distribution ahead of the July 29 presidential vote. But as the weekly market bustles, attracting people from villages miles away, there is no one in the White's sub-prefecture building. On a desk covered with documents, a Malian flag is the only proof there is a state in the town of 16,000. near the statue that lies at the entrance of the town, a tribute to the first French soldier to die in the 2013 offensive against jihadists, which started in Kona. The brand new police station still has no staff. Last year, police officers dispatched to the town were instead sent to rest of areas around Mopti, some 70 kilometers away. This is according to Yaya Traore, the deputy mayor.
Nous allons tout faire pour que l'élection quand même se déroule très normalement ici à Kona. Mais dans les villages environs, bon, vraiment, on n'a pas de sécurité là-bas et nous non plus, nous ne pouvons pas nous déplacer pour aller là-bas parce que, vu l'insécurité qui se déroule là-bas, nous ne pouvons pas nous déplacer pour aller faire la sécurité.
Tel que nous avons dembi sabat bambolo, ambi barkena, anga ressources dobi Congo aya samam. O dembi sabat bambolo. Soufe tanduru barake, lefe tanduru barake. Al sanga elmo be su konan no bika sukuni sécurité. Ngo bambolo ani fana soufe barmina wele tambolo be so ko.
Ko kadumuni. Kadumuni. Animu. Yame. Mbe bare ale de la. Mbe bare ale de la. Fangatin la. Mbe bare ale de la. Ode model ka bolo ko nimbina kata sanike doro mbe yala ka kata sanike.
Akami wala ko ebe wotewa. Ebe ni bama be ne do fusuma be bama gila alimiwa abuma ko kara dande fu awawa wote tay mi wadi sudi amia mi huti yade kwata ba wala jungo amia to.
Moving to southern Africa, Zimbabwe's main opposition, the Movement for Democratic Change, cries foul over early voting processes. The MDC is alleging that police officers had not been allowed to vote secretly when completing early postal ballots. Zimbabwe is set to go to the polls at the end of this month. MDC spokesman Nkululeko Sibanda stated that voters have the constitutional right to a secret ballot, but their investigations show that police officers were voting with their employers watching them. Zimbabwe Electoral Commission said it has processed at least 7,000 postal votes from police and defense personnel who will be on duty on election day and diplomats working abroad.
Our officers were asked to vote in the presence of their seniors. That vote was not secret. We have this information. Officers are phoning us. They are complaining. We have raised these issues, and this has continued. So we would want this ballot to be made invalid, nullified. We are also escalating this matter to SADC. In fact, we are writing to SADC to request an extraordinary summit of SADC to then deal with this stalemate and this dispute. Because for as far as we are concerned, this is a dispute. We have a dispute, we have a stalemate, we have a crisis. We cannot possibly have an election if we do not know where the ballot paper is, who has printed the ballot paper, the quality of the ballot paper. We are also already mobilizing people and engaging them. We will meet all structures, we will meet the church, civic organizations, the trade unions, war veterans, across the whole country to hear what they say about the way forward in terms of dealing with this issue.
Joining us in studio is Tinashe Jonas, President of Ideal Zimbabwe, and their objective is to bring practical and measurable change through action, not election. A very warm welcome to you once again. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, and my pleasure to be on your platform.
Now, Tinashe, people are most probably wondering who is the citizen who has declared himself the new president of the Republic of Zimbabwe. I want us to start from the beginning. I want you to take us through the journey of how you managed to get yourself involved in politics. Where did you grow up and how did this all begin?
Okay. Tinashe Jonas was born in Masvingo province. In a village called Shindi, and I did my primary at Shindi Primary School, which is Chibi South district. And then I went on to Masvingo South. I did my secondary school at Zvezano Missionary School. And then I went on to become a qualified teacher. And then from there, from teaching, I majored in music. And then I went on to Namibia, and where I was a hip-hop musician. And I've been managing musicians, and actually I've been a PR manager, and I'm also a film producer. and I'm a writer. What else can I say? And yeah, so from the arts industry, I understand how artists were being abused in Africa. Managers, they make it seem like they own the artist, when actually the artist is the business. So I went to Zimbabwe after being abused as a musician myself, my mission was to start a non-profit organization so that I can, conscientize and help artists, producers, everyone in the media industry. They're actually being abused, whether actor or model. Unfortunately, our government of ZANU-PF, they abuse citizens. They are dictators, angels of the devil. So they couldn't allow me for such an organization. So I realized that no, politics is at play, because I never before been a politician. I've never voted. I've never joined a political party. So after that, I started managing artists like models, like dancers, musicians in Zimbabwe. And then I realized still that I was like a small entity to change the status quo, the crisis around the media industry. So what I did was, like in our country, models like the Miss Zimbabwe whatsoever, bigger people who are running the Zimbabwe Tourism Association, the Kariko Gakaseke, the ministers, they sleep with models, they abuse them. To be a Miss Zimbabwe in Zimbabwe, you should sleep with a minister or the powers that be. So I realized that no, I'm a small entity to challenge that thing. So what I did was then I started managing those people, and then I went on to say, okay, let me manage politicians. So that by managing a politician, I would then be a major player in the shift of their mindset. So that at least they shift from evil to humanitarian. Because our leaders in Zimbabwe, the more you are evil, the better you can be promoted to high offices. So what happened then was I started managing my aunt, and then she became a mayor. She's currently a mayor in a city.
Which party does she belong to?
She belongs to MDCT. From there, then I went on to manage a lady, I think I would mention her, called Teresa Makoni. By then, in the government of national unity, when Tsvangirai and Mugabe, formed a pact, I think you remember, she was a co-minister for Home Affairs, and she was a member of parliament, and then she was the leader for women, like Women's League, but in MDC they call it Women Assembly. So when I worked with her, I had now grassroots, and it was politics at high level. So I realized the ins and outs of politics, and even by then when I was working with her, I was not a member of the MDC, because I was seeing that it's the so-called main opposition party. They've got support, but they don't have a strategy. Their strategy is to campaign, contest, when they actually know that ZANU-PF is not a party. ZANU-PF is a name given to the military generals, because the country is being run by the army. Which army? And the army led by General Chiwenga, a Mozambican national, plucked off the bushes by Robert Mugabe. So MDC knows that they will never win elections in Zimbabwe because they are run by the army. So I was wondering, how come they always contest and legitimize and give ZANU-PF extra 5 years? When you hear Chamisa talking on TV, looking beautiful as he is, battling with this gender, he's talking rubbish because he knows that there's no reforms. A dictator is overthrown. You don't vote a dictator out of power. So that crisis, 2013, I was advising them not to contest elections. Because it's a trap. It's run by the military. The army are not trained to negotiate. They're not trained for democracy. The army are trained to kill. So, like Mnangagwa now is the president of Zimbabwe, but he's not a president. The person who is running the army is the General Chiwenga. Mnangagwa is captured. So, when a president is captured by the army, no one can command the army. So, our army in Zimbabwe is wild. They're out of their mind. They're crazy people because people in the military, they don't have intelligence. They're not educated.
So you basically moved from being a music teacher and you went into politics, and you realized that in politics there's so much that you have realized and that you have seen, and you also picked up on some of the issues as well as how to address those issues, as well as advising some of the parties. But now looking at when Mugabe took over Zimbabwe, what were you expecting from him at the time? I'm trying to also find out at that time when Mugabe took over, where were you in the midst of things? Were you still doing music, or you had moved into politics already?
When Robert Mugabe took over?
Yes.
Robert Mugabe took over, I was very young. I was a kid. But Mnangagwa took over when I was now an adult.
Okay.
Yeah.
So during the term of Mugabe, what were some of the issues that stood out the most for you?
Robert Mugabe, he did well in terms of education in Zimbabwe. He gave us theoretical education, whereby every Zimbabwean can read and write, although our education is not made for our problems in Zimbabwe. Because a Zimbabwean graduate, like for example, who has got a master's degree in engineering, if you take him to point any bridge in Zimbabwe, even in a village that he has designed, nothing. In Zimbabwe, we've got people with PhD degrees in IT, but they can't even have they can't even start a cell phone application. So our education is theoretical, hence the benefit is reading and writing. The country is suffering. We are the most educated people in Africa, and we are the most suffering people in Africa.
And that's because of the skills that...
Yes, our graduates are half-baked. They don't have practical, grooming. It's only theory. Yes.
So that means at the end of the day, you have a lot of graduates who are not able to actually even go out there and start their own business.
Thank you.
And reasons because of this would be?
Reasons because our education system is designed to make people who are desperate, to make people who are going to look for a job, so that the government become in control. The government controls people, because you know when people are poor and they can't create their own thing, the government becomes they control the situation. Yes.
And now we know that you started a party. And when you started this party, was it easy during that time that you started this party? And were you able to get a lot of members to join this party? Because most people only trust ZANU-PF and also look at the MDC Alliance. But you coming into that picture, how easy was it or how difficult was it?
Okay. First thing I would address the issue of that most Zimbabweans, they trust MDC and ZANU-PF. People, they don't like ZANU-PF, because ZANU-PF is not a party. It's just three people, Emmerson Mnangagwa, our chief killer, and General Chiwenga, the terrorist, Mozambican bleaching addict. And we have got Perence Shiri, the genocide kingpin, the blood cousin of Robert Mugabe, who excels in mass killing. And then, on the other side, we have got MDC, a party that is having support, of course, but a party which doesn't have leaders. Because Morgan Tsvangirai, of course, he was brave, but he had no strategy. And then we go to Chamisa. Chamisa, his main undoing is the issue of gender. In my government, Chamisa, I would elect Nkosana Moyo to be the leader of the community of lesbians and gays. And Nelson Chamisa would deputize as a deputy minister for that, because I wanted to encourage them to come out. You know, you can't live a double life, you know. So I would understand to say, Nelson Chamisa, if you are gay, come out. You're going to encourage and inspire so many people in the community. And then, the point is that you can't have a lot of support and then you waste the support. It's 20 years now MDC is promising Zimbabwe change. When what is needed in Zimbabwe, it's a revolution. So as Tinashe Jonas, I am standing here to lead the I Do Fire Revolution as the commander-in-chief. because ZANU-PF doesn't have more than 1,000 supporters in Zimbabwe. So, and the anger level in Zimbabwe is more than 90%. So what we need is that to encourage Zimbabweans that Emmerson Mnangagwa doesn't have power. He's on a wheelchair of power, pushed around by Chiwenga. He's so vulnerable and captured that even Chiwenga might even sexually abuse our president. So I'm leading the revolution to say free Emmerson Mnangagwa, free Priscilla Chigumba, free Tobayo Mdede. They are captured by the army. The biggest enemy of the people is General Chiwenga, who I'm prepared to face in the next 3 days when I'm in Zimbabwe. I would want him to go to his office so that he can kill me. If he can't, then it's game on. So these parties, they've played a game of 20 years. They don't know that Zimbabweans are suffering. Chamisa is calling for demonstrations every day. Zimbabweans are suffering. They depend on selling in the streets and earning a living. So when you put them on the streets every day, where would they eat? So Nelson Chamisa is a leader who abuses people. And I'm saying to him, I'm coming to Zimbabwe. Stop what you are doing. Deal with your wait for my government to elect you a minister, deputy minister for gays and lesbians. Yeah.
And looking at your party, what are some of the promises that you have made? Because we know that campaigning took 4 months. Of course, you were also out there in numbers as well. Looking at some of the promises that you have made, what are some of those on the agenda?
Okay. We are the only party in Zimbabwe which is not promising anything. Because my mother taught me that if you want to be a liar, promise. So many parties, towards the elections, they promise a lot of things. That after 5 minutes of promising, they even forget what they were promising. Our manifesto as a party, it's one word, called freedom. Why freedom? In Zimbabwe, our government have been captured by the military generals. More than 90% of our soldiers, they don't like the ZANU-PF, the government, because they are also suffering. They're hungry. It's only the generals who are eating the diamonds and whatsoever with Mnangagwa and Chiwenga. So any state department, ZEC, the intelligence, any arm of government has been captured by the army. And so we don't have a state in Zimbabwe. Secondly, Zimbabweans have been captured. They don't have social life, social freedom, political freedom. They don't have economic freedom, political freedom. To discuss about Mnangagwa, everyone knows that Mnangagwa is dangerous, he's a killer. But you can't discuss that openly because you can disappear.
But that is also the same during Mugabe's term.
Mnangagwa, in hell, which is ZANU-PF, there's no better devil. So Mnangagwa is actually more devil than Mugabe. Because when Mugabe was a president, Mnangagwa, remember, even before Mugabe was a president, Mnangagwa was a girlfriend of Mugabe. Mugabe looks like he hates gay people and lesbians. He's lying. Mugabe is gay. So Mugabe has been abusing Mnangagwa before independence and after independence. So Mnangagwa being the right-hand man of Mugabe and a girlfriend of Mugabe, he has been the kingpin who has been killing for Mugabe, doing everything, dirty work for Mugabe. So it baffles my mind to understand that Zimbabweans think Mnangagwa is good because he's just smiling. The whole party, it's a cult. It's not a party. It's a cult which it thrives on evil. They kill, they rape. Mnangagwa, for example, is about almost 90 years old.
So you're saying that nothing has actually changed even when Mnangagwa took over?
For Mugabe to rule Zimbabwe for 38 years, he was sustained by Mnangagwa. Number two, Chiwenga, the Mozambican terrorist, and the parents Shiri. So these dangerous criminals, the three criminals who sustained Mugabe, are the people now in charge of the government.
Yes. Now, with you making all of these allegations, we know that during Mugabe's time, you wouldn't have been able to say this, but now it's Emmerson Mnangagwa's time. Is there something different that you're able to come out and talk about these allegations?
Okay, not really. When Mugabe was the president, I was sitting here. I think I did about 3 debates here when Mugabe was the president. And I was even announcing that I want to remove Mugabe kicking and screaming. The point is, I was born, I grew up in poverty. Poverty deprives you of your dignity. My life I can describe it in one way.
Did you ever blame the president back then?
Yeah, Bozi Mugabe was just a president, a family president. Mugabe was a president to his Benetton, crazy, a prostitute called Grace Mugabe. Mugabe was a president to his, those 3 kids which are not fathered by him, which are like, stock fella. Because Grace Mugabe was sleeping with any man around. Mugabe is bedroom frustrations, was affecting his running of the country. He was just a thief who was looting the country and everything. He killed the country. He stole a lot of diamonds. He stole a lot of things. In my government, whether Mugabe is old, a devil doesn't get old. I would put him in prison. Yeah.
And now, growing up, who was your mentor? Because seemingly we haven't seen anybody from Zimbabwe coming out and pushing such allegations. We've seen on Twitter that people have asked who is Tinashe. Hence you're here today so that we can actually get to know more of you and your background as well.
Okay. I grew up in extreme poverty, and I would tell your viewers that in primary school my father rejected me. And I don't think, I can say also let me say my parents. I grew up going to this relative, I had to get a bursary from government for me to study. I never knew where my mother was, in high school. My father didn't care about me, my mother didn't care about me. And at the end of the day, life was a struggle for me. Just to get a meal was not easy for me. Because you remember, relatives, they don't love you if your parents reject you. So I was like a charity case. I go to this angle, chases me away to this angle. So as I said, my life in short is pain. So my role model, my mentor is Chaka Zulu. Because Chaka Zulu grew up illegitimate child at his mother's family. And he turned that pain into motivation. And he turned that motivation into success. So my role model is Chaka Zulu. I realized that with the pain, you become, your endurance level become, amazing, and you can face anything. So at this level, and when you grow up in poverty and pain, you've got nothing. So I've got nothing to lose. That's why I can face up to the devil, Emmerson Mnangagwa, and say, Chaka was fearless. That's my mentor. Yeah. And
now you have also mentioned that you are the first legitimate president of Zimbabwe, and therefore former President Robert Mugabe and his successor President Mnangagwa should confine themselves to ancestral shrines where they shall be consulted. Talk us through how Mnangagwa and Mugabe are illegitimate.
Okay, Robert Mugabe became a president through tricks. Number one, there was negotiations before independence. I think it's about 1979, called the Lancaster House negotiations in London, whereby all the potential leaders were grouped together so that they air out their views when they're in power. The real leader who was supposed to lead Zimbabwe was called Joshua Ngomo. Joshua Ngomo was fighting for the land, for the empowerment of blacks. He is my role model and every normal Zimbabwean. Robert Mugabe, a Malawian, a trickster, promised the British that when I become a president, I would do a willing buyer, willing seller strategy of land. So the British loved Robert Mugabe. After loving him, they made sure they rigged the elections so that Mugabe would win. And Mugabe was using the race card. Joshua Ngomo was from the minority, which is the Ndebele people. Mugabe is from, he classifies himself as a Shona, although we know he's from Malawi. Just to gain support. So the 1980 election was rigged. After the elections, because Mugabe knew that he rigged the election against Joshua Ngomo, the father Zimbabwe. 3 years later, he launched a genocide called Gukura Hundi, whereby he killed more than 30,000 Ndebeles. The idea was to silence them so that Joshua Nkomo would bow down and be under Mugabe. And definitely, 1987, he signed the peace accord to work with Mugabe as a vice president. So Mugabe has been rigging elections. His sustenance to power has been the army. So Robert Mugabe has never won an election in Zimbabwe. Because no one can vote for Mugabe because Mugabe has never had a developmental agenda. His rule was only to sustain power. And then from Mugabe, we go on. Maybe you remember 2008 when Mugabe lost the election. It was counted for 30 days. No country in the world can count the elections for 30 days. What do we learn from that? We learned that Mugabe had lost. And then they were trying to manipulate. Then when they said there should be a rerun, Mnangagwa and Chiwenga and Perence Shiri killed more than 5,000 Zimbabweans and tortured people into forcing into voting for Mugabe. And then Morgan Tsvangirai withdrew. Mugabe won alone, but after that he submitted to the government of national unity. Then we come to Emmerson Mnangagwa. How is he legitimate? Emmerson Mnangagwa, there was no coup. Don't be fooled. Because Mnangagwa can't remove his boyfriend. Mnangagwa can't remove Mugabe because the closest man in the world to Robert Mugabe is called Emmerson Mnangagwa. So he can't. And then Chiwenga, the vice president now, can't remove Mugabe. Because Chiwenga is not a Zimbabwean, he's not military trained. If he's got a training, maybe it's for security. Chiwenga was just picked from a bush in Maputo in Mozambique by Mugabe. So there is no way he can remove Mugabe because Mugabe can take away the citizenship and take him back to Mozambique. And then Perence Shiri is also the cousin of Robert Mugabe. What happened was Mugabe resigned as a president because he was old and because he knew that more than 90% of Zimbabweans, they don't love him anymore and his party. So what they did now was Mugabe told Mnangagwa to act as a coup so that the world would celebrate, so that the international community would come back to invest in Zimbabwe and the sanctions would be removed. That's why US, a few weeks ago, they gave Mnangagwa sanctions because many countries overseas, they've realized that there's no coup. That's why you see SADC, AU, they endorse Mnangagwa. Because they know that their father, Devil, Robert Mugabe, told them that don't intervene. You know SADC and AU, they don't like coups. They were supposed to intervene so that they protect themselves. Because their generals, like South Africa army commander, can also do a coup. But the reason why they are good to Mnangagwa is because the Mugabe told them they're going to be a coup. It's not a coup. That's why they say soft coup. It was a way that the Zimbabweans can believe in ZANU-PF again. And Mnangagwa becomes from a killer to a hero. So Mnangagwa became a president through tricks of people. No one voted him in power. He used the army. Although the army was used in a way like it's a coup. It's not a coup. So when you become a leader by tricks, by fooling people, you are illegitimate.
And now critics have also come out saying that Mnangagwa is exactly the same as Robert Mugabe. What do you make of that, especially after Mnangagwa had changed his mind about the issue of white farmers coming back to the country?
Mnangagwa, if I remember, there was only one white man. He gave the farm back. No other white people have gotten farms. So Mnangagwa is trying to put, you know, when a devil is put makeup to look like Jesus. That makeup would do, I mean, makeup, you know, you can't wear makeup for 1 week. Makeup is made for some hours. So during that week of the coup, Mnangagwa became a good leader. But that makeup is gone now. So people can see that he is a devil. So, as I said, in hell, when I say in hell, I mean ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF, you can't go to hell and compare. This devil is a yellow bone. This devil is handsome. Whether a devil is handsome or it's yellow bone, it's a devil.
And now, moving to elections. The opposition parties have said that ZEC is run by ZANU-PF because of the issues of the voters' roll. Can the citizens of Zimbabwe trust ZEC, or should they be listening to what the opposition has to say?
Okay. First, I would talk about Nelson Chamisa and his MDC. This is a bunch of crazy monkeys. Because I don't want to criticize ZEC. Because why? ZEC, it's an election desk of ZANU-PF. I mean, after 40 years of knowing what ZEC is, we can't really spend time talking about ZEC now. Because that woman called Priscilla Chigumba, I wanted to rescue her when I go to Zimbabwe in a few days. But she's captured by the army. I'm even worried they are sexually abusing her now. So the point is, it's no longer a topic. We know that the ZEC is ZANU-PF. So it's not a discussion. Yes.
And with some of the issues that people have been asking to be looked into and sorted out, as your party, what else have you tried to do? Because we've seen people protesting, marching. What have you been doing?
Thank you. The question goes to what is leadership? A leader is a person who stands in front of his people and takes bullets for his people. A leader is a person who can be arrested or can be killed on behalf of his people. So when we talk about demonstrations, Morgan Tsvangirai died while he was demonstrating. Now Nelson Chamisa is demonstrating, waiting to die also. I can't do things that Albert Einstein said insanity is when you do one thing over and over again and expect different results. So Chamisa is, what can I say, is a deranged student who copies the father who was talking with his insanity. When you inherit stupidity, you're going to die. What is needed in Zimbabwe right now, the problems of Zimbabwe is caused by a leadership vacuum. What is needed in Zimbabwe, when you are dealing with the devils, you need to be 5 men in one. Zimbabwe doesn't need a gentleman. It needs a lion. Mnangagwa is saying is a crocodile. I'm a lion of Judah. I will smash that waist of him, which was, messed up by Mugabe. But the point is, Zimbabweans are making a mistake of thinking that, of assuming that the power is in Mnangagwa's office or Mnangagwa's state house. That's the problem of Africa. We think a president is God. We think a president is the most powerful person. The Africans, we are used to kings. So a king was masquerading as a powerful person in Africa. So Africans, they don't know what is a president and the difference between a president and a king. We are born to worship leaders instead of leaders to worship us. Because we put them in office to lead, to save us as servants of the people. So Zimbabweans are assuming Mnangagwa is the most powerful man. So 15 million Zimbabweans are being abused by 3 men. Ideal Zimbabwe has got a solution. Us as 15 million Zimbabweans, if we rise being led by my leadership, because I'm not afraid to die. If the freedom of Zimbabwe needs my death, then I should die today. If the freedom of Zimbabwe needs my arrest, then Chiwenga and Mnangagwa should arrest me. But they won't abuse me sexually. So the point now, we need to lead Zimbabweans to the point whereby they rise as 15 million. No amount of bullets would kill 15 million people. So this July and August, I'm leading I Do Fire Revolution for Zimbabweans to stand up and you know that the power is in their hand. But our problem is called ZANU-PF. So we should take out Chiwenga and Mnangagwa now. So that the ZANU-PF is gone. Because ZANU-PF is 3 people. Supported by generals. So I'm saying to Zimbabweans, I am the civilian president of the country because I declared myself officially in Zimbabwe 4 months ago on national TV. And I told Mnangagwa to open treason. So that if they arrest me, we look at him. Whether Mugabe abused him for so many years is another story. But we look at him, why he became a president. Maybe he can say, Tinashe, look, Mugabe made me a wife for 40 years. I should also be on the promise of being a president. So let me rule. I gave him that 8 months, 9 months. But the point is now, Zimbabweans, I do fire revolution is to say to Zimbabweans, starting Monday next week, 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. every night, you wake up alone, you start a fire. When you start a fire, fire should be all over the country. Why should we put a fire all over the country? In the Bible, because this revolution is inspired by Psalm, some they call it Psalm 82 verse 3. Defend the fatherless and the weak, uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed. Secondly, in the Bible, Moses saw a bush of fire. And I mean, before he went to Egypt, he saw a ball of fire. Secondly, Sodom and Gomorrah were solved by fire. So that means in the Bible, when you talk about Christianity or God, evil needs fire. Our philosophy is fight darkness with light. ZANU-PF, since they use a group of sangomas, and they use Lucifer as their mentor, they need God. They will vanish. And then, because they are the queens and the kings of the darkness, if we light up fire, evil become weak. Thirdly, as Zimbabweans, we learn that fire is a symbol of freedom. How? Because the devil king called Robert Mugabe, every Independence Day, he has been lighting up a fire as a symbol of freedom. This year, 18 April, this killer called Mnangagwa, he also did the same, lighting up fire as a symbol of freedom. So we are saying every Zimbabwean from Monday, 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. light up a fire until the devils, they are driven to the gates of hell. If they respond in a violent way, I will declare war. Because they think that they are the most fearsome people. Their hands are not programmed for a trigger. My hands can also use a trigger. To hell with them.
And what has ZANU-PF said to you when you make some of these allegations against them?
They can't say nothing because the ZANU-PF, they intimidate people because the people are afraid of dying. I mean, I think my purpose of being alive or being created was to attach a meaning to my life. How do you do that? Being a productive citizen, you need to have the skill of upholding your conscience. What is conscience? Conscience is knowing what is right and what is wrong. So, if I know that what Mnangagwa and Mugabe and Grace Mugabe and Chiwenga are doing is wrong, Stevie Biko said, I would rather die soon for an idea that will live forever than to live forever for an idea that will die soon. So, I can't fear death and look at people abusing my people. So, if it means I should die defending the abused, the oppressed, the impoverished, I think I would smile and tell God I tried to use my life that you gave me for this.
And now, critics have also questioned the integrity of the entire voters' roll. We also had the opposition last night telling us that it seems as if the voters' roll has double IDs and it seems as if there's more polling stations than before. Elections are around the corner. Should ZEC be disbanded? What should the solution be now?
Thank you. ZEC should not be disbanded.
Okay.
Because they are running a ZANU-PF Congress. As Zimbabweans, we are suffering from madness. The problem in Zimbabwe is that everyone is failing to think. When madness takes over the country, people will suffer. The Bible says, when you lack wisdom, you should perish. So, Zimbabweans, they talk about ZEC, they talk about the voters' roll. It's nonsense. Because by now we should know that ZEC, the election which is coming 30 July, it's a ZANU-PF elective Congress. ZANU-PF is the participating thing. They choose where to print. They choose what to do. They date. As opposition leader, I've never been consulted of anything. Mnangagwa would just come out after his rituals with his wife of drinking human blood. He would just come out and say, 30 July is the elections. They don't consult anyone. So Zimbabweans are busy being led by this confused fool called Nelson Chamisa. Hey, we want reforms. We want reforms. How can you expect a devil to open a door for you to go to heaven? You can't ask for assistance from a devil to take you to promised land. A devil won't reform himself out of power. A devil should be overthrown. Zimbabweans, if this is our time, the election is stolen. That's why I resigned from the election. When Mnangagwa became the illegal president, I thought at least, as a person who has been abused by Mugabe for so long, against these love wishes, probably as a victim himself, like us, he would understand and also make the ground level. That's why I was a presidential candidate. But when I realized that this is victim of sex assault is also evil, then we came out. The point is, Zimbabweans, we should rise and overthrow illegitimate president, illegitimate government, illegitimate ZEC, illegitimate winner. This is our time as Zimbabweans to say what is our problem in this country. It's called ZANU-PF. So they should be out of power.
So now what you have said is that the electoral body is run by the ZANU-PF, right?
It's ZANU-PF. This election is a congress for ZANU-PF.
And now you're also saying that you are no longer going to contest in the forthcoming elections.
Yes, because I'm not a member of ZANU-PF.
Okay. And now, as the legitimate president, are you not supposed to be trying to save Zimbabwe and its citizens somehow by still running for elections?
Thank you. When the devils are fighting, you should actually, encourage them so that they kill each other. The 23 presidential candidates currently contesting, they are all funded by ZANU-PF. Why ZANU-PF is in power? Because the ZANU-PF contest against ZANU-PF. Who is in his normal mind can even expect to win against the, let me say, a boxing match. I can't fight another boxer when that same boxer is the one with a whistle. So that means if I'm leading by 20 points, he gonna, stop the fight and deduct even 50 points from me. There's no election in Zimbabwe. There's no election to talk about. Zimbabweans should rise and take ZANU-PF out. Yes.
But now, what have your party members suggested when it comes to you pulling out of the race?
Yeah, remember, in a party, it's not about the president. In a party, there's National Executive Council, which sits down and they have resolutions. I'm not, maybe the reason why people see me a lot, it's because what we represent as a party, we are radical and we are revolutionary. So when you are a leader, you should be the one who should be arrested if there's anything or danger. So that's why I am the one who represents the party more. It was a party resolution that we can't fight and contest with the devils. We should now urge Zimbabweans. We are a revolutionary party. We fight for change in a practical way. Not the campaign contest. Mao Zedong said, in an election, it's not about who votes that matters. It's about who counts. So in Zimbabwe, when there's election, people who are police officers wearing uniform, people who are ZEC officials, they're all military. Yes.
And now, are you pushing dialogues at this point? Because we understand that there's a lot of marches and protests, and you've mentioned that there will be something that you will be starting as well. But now, dialogues, have you been trying that at all?
If you go to hell to talk with the Satan, Satan would try to ritualize you into that evil. If I can sit down with Mnangagwa, I can explode these balls. There's no way I can try to negotiate with the devil. There's no agreement with Satan. Yes, because Satan would never repent. Satan would never allow you to belong to God. So Mnangagwa knows what he has done. The damage he has done in Zimbabwe is deprived of 4 generations. Because remember, a generation is about 10 years. 40 years now, people of my age, they don't know what is a Lamborghini. Zimbabwe now, young people, they don't dream of buying a private jet. They don't dream of buying holiday homes. They've now settled for mediocre. So,
but now, with the 23 candidates who have said that they will be part of the elections,
yes.
Have you tried to have some kind of dialogue with them rather than adding ZANU-PF and just having it as most probably just Zimbabwean citizens?
If these guys have been given money by Mnangagwa to act, you know why? To act, people like me, who is a real who is a real, person who is who criticizes evil of ZANU-PF. It was a matter that, let's say I pull out of the election, still it would be majority are contesting. It's a matter, so they would never allow, they are part of ZANU-PF, so they will never listen to me. Because
so did you ever suggest to them that, listen, let's all pull out, or?
Yeah, remember I talk on social media, I talk on radio, TVs and newspapers. They will never buy into that.
So there was no response from the opposition.
That's why Chamisa now is saying, let's go to ZEC, we sleep there, we toy there. Would ZEC lose the sleep? Chamisa is there to act as like he is the real opposition. Demonstrating, what is that? ZANU-PF, they don't care. They are saying unless there's an earthquake, then we'll stop the election. So I think Chamisa thinks an earthquake is the toy. Because ZEC, they said if there's an earthquake, the elections would stop. Then Chamisa is suggesting people to sleep there. So he thinks sleeping there is called an earthquake.
Okay, and with all of that being said, is Zimbabwe ready for these upcoming elections?
First, there's no elections. Because Emmerson Mnangagwa is already a winner. Because you can't lose an election that you are running with your wife and your kids and your sangoma.
And now, we know that the United States has terminated funding to 3 Zimbabwean human rights and pro-democracy groups 3 weeks before the election. What is your take on this one?
Yeah, it was a good move because the United Nations was... how can you fund an election which is run by... It's like Durban in July. You can't go to Durban in July and bet when there's one horse in the race. That's not Durban in July. It becomes something else, maybe Durban in October.
And now Zimbabwe has also launched the National Space Agency, intended to focus on using satellites to advance geospatial science, Earth observation and satellite communication systems. What is the party's reaction towards the space agency that was launched last week?
To us, it demonstrates that Mnangagwa didn't exceed grade 5 in school. Very soon, 2 weeks ago, he was saying 10 plus 4 is equal to 40. So it just demonstrates that Mnangagwa is sick in his head. His IQ can't even challenge that one of a dog. Because dogs are clever. They can be trained a lot of things. Mnangagwa has got less brain than a dog. So you can't talk about IT in a country that doesn't have painkillers in government hospitals. We can't talk of space agency, space science. When Zimbabweans are any little energy left in their body, they use it to jump the border into South Africa, into Mozambique. You create space science when people they are running away from your country, they are suffering. It means Mnangagwa thinks less than a cat.
All right, and just finally, with the protests that have come up, have they made any sort of difference? Should the citizens of Zimbabwe continue to protest? Because I understand that you also have something else as well.
Yeah, the protests, I mean, they are a signal of democracy, the democratic, madness. this Chamisa I was saying, who is battling, he doesn't know how to come out as gay. I mean, when you live double life, you have got internal conflict. You know, I mean, it's normal to be who you are. People should be proud of their sexuality. But when now you hide, you are battling, internal battling yourself. You know, I'm that person who says when you feel you are lesbian, you are gay. Come out. You know, live life clean. So, Chamisa, I'm again appealing to you today to say, my brother, come out. In our government, we're going to have a support system. A human being is a human being. A person is not defined by your church, by your beliefs, by your sexuality. Human beings, we are equally human beings. So I'm saying to you, Chamisa, come out. Demonstrate alone about your sexuality. Don't make my people demonstrate on behalf of your sexuality. The demonstrations have proven once more and again that they don't bring a grain of change. You need to knock your brain. Fake degrees of law, fake degrees of being a pastor, they won't help. You don't think because of the papers. A degree is done in a structured way of a module to control the thinking system of a black African. You need wisdom. Wisdom, you get it from God. So, Chamisa, I'm warning you, stop abusing my people. Come out. Be proud of your sexuality.
All right, thank you so much for joining us in studio. Joining us in studio was Tinashe Jonas, president of Ideal Zimbabwe, and their objective is to bring practical and measurable change through action, not election. Right now, Africa Tonight will take a short break. We'll be back with more news and updates. Stay tuned.